And we expect that in the next 5 years, the exposure of the fund that we have, to start having conversations about the possibilities of exits. And the main possibilities to see exit, we are seeing it at the like strategic, like big companies, acquiring in like M&A strategies. And that my vision about that is that we're seeing a scenario where the companies are going to have pressure about transform the way of how they produce in a more sustainable way. They don't have that technologies. They don't have the teams to that. So they're going to need to speed up that process of transforming themselves into sustainable platforms, and new practices. So they're going to start needing this kind of startup. They did it to digitize a lot of stuff of their companies, and now they have to do it to transform the ways on how they produce. So we think a very, very attractive M&A scenario for the next 5-10 years.
Yeah. Where was the buyer from in this case? The company that
From
purchased?
the US. Yes, from the
US, America.
Yes. In Latin America, as I mentioned, I think that there could be candidates like in Brazil and in Mexico. Companies like, I don't know, Bimbo, like FEMSA in Mexico, or companies like GBS in Brazil, no, or InBev in Brazil as well. So there are huge companies that could be candidates, but there's no like a huge critic mass of strategic buyers in the region.
But in terms of these exits as well, is that when looking into more deeply into your portfolio of GridX and looking at other biotech companies in the region, one thing that it comes very evident is that the price tag of these companies is actually very attractive for a foreign buyer, in a way that they have been developing very good technologies. And even though they would be life changing for the founding teams, it would be very good returns for you and the early investors in the region. But in all reality, let's say if we will look at the bigger, let's say, pharmaceutical or biotech company that would initiate their own R&D efforts for the next 6 years in topic XYZ, you can find ready-made packages where the technology readiness level is in a very high place. So this is a very important, let's say, area where there can be a very, very good deals made, because you can buy these companies a lot cheaper, because they've been able to develop their companies with a lot less capital.
Yeah.
It's very simple math.
Totally. And I think that applies to this portfolio in Latin America. But I think that there is a not so common discussion in the venture capital industry about the venture capital models in terms of which kind of exits we are following. So I think in these kind of startups, not only because they are coming from Latin America, but also because what they are doing, going to be much more possibilities to do exits between $100 and $200 million valuation. It's not going to be like the $1 billion company game as we've seen in the digital space. Yes. And the outlier game of these kind of companies and winner takes all strategy. So I think could be more like a game of 10 companies of $100 million rather than one company of $1 billion. No? So we're going to see less mortality, like more exits at much more lower valuation, and less IPOs and less companies going to really replace the traditional stuff, as we've seen it in the digital space. That today you have like the 10 more viable companies in the world are like those companies that in the last 30 years came out from the ecosystem. I don't know if we are going to see these kind of companies in the future in the deep tech space, or at least it's not going to be the business related to that, with the venture capital venture capital business is not going to be related to that, and it's going to be more related to how we create how we can create more $100 million companies that can be acquired by these big players that need to transform